This happened about a month ago during one of those overnight shifts that make you forget what day it is. I work the night shift at a 24-hour grocery store just outside town. Most people imagine overnight work is exciting because of all the strange customers, but honestly, it's usually the opposite. You stock shelves, clean up messes, answer the occasional question, and wait for the sunrise. After a while, every shift feels exactly the same. Around 3 in the morning, the store becomes almost silent. The music overhead plays so quietly you barely notice it. The refrigerators hum non-stop, and the few customers who wander in usually keep to themselves. That's why anything unusual stands out immediately. I was stocking bottled drinks in the back corner of the store when I noticed a man standing near the frozen food section. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't looking inside the freezers or checking prices. He was just standing there. I looked up a minute later and he had moved. Not much, just enough that he was now standing at the end of my aisle, still watching. When I looked directly at him, he'd casually turn his head toward a shelf as if he had been shopping the whole time. I shrugged it off. People are weird. 5 minutes later, I walked to the dairy section to grab another cart. There he was again. Different aisle. Same expression. Same blank stare. He wasn't pushing a shopping cart. He wasn't carrying a basket. His hands stayed inside the pockets of his hoodie. I started paying closer attention. Every time I changed departments, somehow he'd appear nearby within a couple of minutes, never speaking, never asking for help, just existing close enough that I couldn't ignore him. I figured maybe he was trying to work up the courage to ask me something. Maybe he needed help finding an item. Instead, he just kept watching. The feeling in my stomach kept getting worse. I considered calling one of my coworkers on the store radio, but mine had been cutting in and out all night. I pressed the button anyway. Nothing. Dead battery. Perfect timing. I decided I'd walk toward the front registers, where more employees were working. As I started walking, I noticed something that made my heart race. The man began walking too. Not quickly, not obviously, just matching my direction from the next aisle over. Every time I turned down another aisle, he did too, always staying one aisle away, always keeping me in sight. I picked up my pace, so did he. Not enough for anyone else to notice, enough for me to notice. I reached the seasonal section near the front of the store and stopped. I wanted to see if he'd stop too. He did. He pretended to examine a display of camping lanterns without touching a single one. That's when I knew I wasn't imagining things. Before I could decide what to do next, someone grabbed my shopping cart. I spun around so fast I almost yelled. An older man wearing a baseball cap smiled warmly. "There you are," he said loudly. "I've been looking all over for you." I stared at him. I'd never seen him before in my life. He leaned closer without changing his smile. Barely moving his lips, he whispered, "Don't react. The guy following you isn't alone." Every hair on my arms stood up. I glanced over his shoulder. The man in the hoodie was still standing there, but now there was a woman beside him. I hadn't even noticed her walk into the aisle. She was pretending to compare cereal boxes, but every few seconds she'd glance toward me. The older man continued loudly, "So, your mother said dinner is still at 6 on Sunday?" He sounded completely natural, like we were relatives catching up. Then he whispered again, "They've been taking pictures of you." I felt sick. Pictures. How long had they been watching me? He gently pushed the cart forward. "Walk with me." I didn't argue. We headed toward the customer service desk. The whole time he kept up the fake conversation. He asked about imaginary family members, talked about a fishing trip that never happened, laughed like we'd known each other for years. Anyone watching would assume we were together. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the man and woman separate. The man disappeared down one aisle. The woman headed another direction. My stomach tightened. Why split up? The older man noticed me looking. They're trying to get in front of us. We turned toward the pharmacy area. He suddenly stopped smiling. "Don't look now," he murmured. "They're blocking the path to customer service." I slowly lifted my eyes. He was right. The woman had somehow reached the end of the aisle ahead of us. She wasn't shopping anymore. She was simply standing there, waiting. The man was several aisles behind us. For the first time, I realized exactly what they were doing. They weren't chasing me. They were hurting me. The older man immediately turned us another direction. "They want us to panic," he whispered. "Stay calm." We headed deeper into the store. I assumed he knew where security was. Instead, he steered us toward the employee hallway. Something felt wrong. Very wrong. "We're almost there," he said. His grip tightened around the shopping cart. Too tight. I slowed down. He kept pulling. I frowned. "Security's the other way," I said. He didn't answer. He just smiled. "We'll take a shortcut." The employee hallway ahead was almost completely empty. No customers. No cameras that I could see. Just gray walls leading toward the warehouse loading area. A cold chill spread through my body. I stopped walking. "I'm going back to the registers." He didn't let go of the cart. His smile disappeared. "They're waiting out there," he said quietly. "We're safer this way." Something in his voice had changed. The friendly tone was gone. Now it sounded impatient. I pulled the cart back. He resisted. Not aggressively, just enough to stop me. Then he leaned closer. "Trust me." At that exact moment, I heard footsteps behind us. I looked back. The man in the hoodie had entered the hallway. The woman appeared a few seconds later from another doorway. All three of them were now between me and the sales floor. None of them looked surprised to see each other. My blood ran cold. The older man had never been helping me. He had been guiding me exactly where they wanted me. The whole rescue had been an act. I let go of the cart completely. The sudden loss of resistance caused him to stumble slightly. That tiny moment was enough. I sprinted past him before any of them could react. The woman reached for my arm and barely missed. Someone yelled behind me. Then another voice shouted, "Stop her!" I ran as fast as I could through the store. I knocked over a display of paper towels behind me. Packages exploded across the floor. I heard people slipping and shouting. I didn't look back. I just kept running. When I reached the front registers, I screamed as loudly as I could. Every cashier turned toward me. Customers froze. One of my coworkers immediately ran over. Behind me, the three strangers stopped. For just a second. Then they calmly turned around and walked towards separate exits like nothing had happened. Security locked the doors within seconds, but they were already gone. Police reviewed every camera in the building. What they found made me feel even worse. The three of them had entered together nearly 40 minutes before I noticed the man. They separated immediately after coming inside. The woman spent most of that time pretending to shop while quietly watching me from different aisles. The older man stayed near the entrance, waiting, only approaching after the other two had already made me nervous enough to trust a stranger. Detectives later told me it looked organized. Each person had a specific role. One created fear. One gained trust. One waited for the opportunity. They also discovered something I still can't explain. Before approaching me, the older man looked directly at my employee name tag several times on camera. Except, I wasn't wearing one that night. I'd forgotten it at home. None of us could figure out how he knew my name. I still work overnight, but never alone anymore. Whenever a stranger suddenly acts like they know me, I don't assume they're trying to help. Sometimes the person pretending to save you is the one you should fear the most.